years, I've spoken with artisans of all genres and walks of life. Each of the conversations always end with the same question: how do I make my passion work? Follow along as I speak with some of those creatives and doers about their fears, challenges, and most importantly, their ambitions, all while I travel the great state of Kentucky following my own dream. My name is Casey Page, and welcome to Kentucky Fog. Nestled in the heart of central Kentucky, amongst the grandeur of Mammoth Cave National Park, you will find Edmonson County, named after Captain John Jack Edmonson, a war hero who perished during the War of 1812. The county boasts plenty of opportunities for the nature lover, whether it be countless walking and biking trails or the gorgeous scenery of lush farmland. But aside from the natural wonders, one doesn't have to look too hard to stumble across creative gems as well. One of the biggest gems in the area comes from the small community whose moniker came after a debate focused on what to name the fledgling community. A resident happened to see a hog standing in the middle of the street. Thus, the town of Pig, Kentucky was born. Originating from the tiny burg is Rye Davis, a burgeoning country music singer, and despite Rye's beginning in such a small place, he has followed his dreams in a big way.
The melodies. I've always loved music, but for me, I kind of fell into it. So I played baseball out of college. I played a little bit of professional ball with the Phillies organization, and what it amounted to is I bought a little travel guitar when I was with the Phillies, living down in Clearwater, Florida, and just started strumming chords into songs when I was living in the La Quinta Inn and Suites, and it kind of took off from there. So long story short, I got released from playing baseball, got a real job in Bowling Green, Kentucky, working at Bobcat of Bowling Green, and decided I didn't like it. And I want to start making music. And once I found out that I could do that people would start coming to shows and I could start paying some bills with it, I decided to just kind of dive in. We're in Pig, Kentucky, you know. My mom and dad's got couple hundred acres around here that we farm and always have, and had cattle farm and stuff, and they've always worked for themselves, and I've always worked for myself through baseball. Then when I found out I could do it with music, it just seemed like the natural thing to do, to just get in and go for it and see what happened. Have you ever heard of a guy named Dallas Moore? But I went and I was opening for him at the Spillway there in Bowling Green. I guess it's been 10 or 12 years ago now. And I asked Dallas, I said, Dallas, I was working at Bobcat, you know, and I said, I don't know if I just want to dive in or if I just need to kind of, keep working my job and see how things goes. And he had him a thing of bourbon, or no, it was an old fashioned. He took a drink of it and he said, "Cannonball." And I said, all right, well, I guess so I quit within about 2 weeks. And I was like, you know what? He's right.
I used to call you after I get on work.
I have always been into music, and I worked 3 jobs to support myself in Nashville because it is so expensive. I barely had any time to focus on music. And Rye had a house up here in Brownsville, Kentucky. And he was like, we ought to move back up to Brownsville, and, we could really focus on our songwriting and our music. And at that time, Rye was playing a bunch of shows. I barely got to see him because I was working so hard. And, we'd try to write a song here and there whenever I'd get off work and stuff like that. And we moved back up to Kentucky, and we got to write a bunch. And he was like, you're really good with people. How about you just manage me and start booking my shows for me until I find somebody? And I was like, okay, yeah, because I'll help you find somebody to manage you and book you. And almost 11 years later, I'm still here managing and booking him.
There's nowhere else on the planet that is unique as Edmonson County, and it's an underappreciated fact. If you look on a map of Edmonson County, we are smack dab. If the United States was an animal that you were going to put an arrow in to eat, all right, we are right in the heart of it. You know what I mean? We are right smack dab in the middle. You can get anywhere you need to be. We are on, the culture here is like nowhere else on the planet, because we're the furthest in the state of Kentucky. If you look at a map of Appalachia, we're the furthest western Appalachian county. We are an hour and a half from Louisville. We're an hour and a half from Nashville. We're right on the hill like this. Out my back door here is one of the last hilly parts of the country before it starts flattening out, going to the western side of the state. So it's literally where everything meets. North, south, east, and west. We are right in the middle of all that.
The city was calling your name for making something else insane.
He's my husband, and I don't believe that anybody's going to want or do as much for him as I would, and I love it. I get a real big kick when I get him a real good show and he gets excited. We feed off of each other very well.
You hear the story all the time of people that come from nothing or they have nothing to lose. I think it's harder when you do have something to lose. Does that make sense? So when you do have something to lose, like when you've got a family to support and you've got bills to pay and you've got you living comfortably and you still do enjoy your job or you enjoy what you do for a living, I think it's harder to walk away from that than it is to walk away from when you have nothing to lose, you can try anything. No way I ever would have been as happy as I am right now. I never would have met my wife. I wouldn't be living where I'm living, wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. And that's a chance you have to take. And I think that's something that most artists, they don't consider that. They don't consider you're going to walk away from stuff that you like. It's harder to do that than it is to walk away from something you're miserable with. This is a song for my daughter. It's called Sheep. Come here, baby girl, and let me hold you. Daddy's always here to dry your eyes. Don't believe anything they told you. I know you're hurting, it's okay to cry. It's really hard to stand up to your bullies, but if you don't, they'll be there all your life. They don't get to choose what makes you happy. There's something on the inside. Then don't you let them tell you any different. No, don't you let them tell you any lies. Oh, don't you let them tell you any different, my darling. It's a sheep in a wolf's disguise. Well, anytime you think that they might bite, don't be scared to beat them to the punch. And anytime that they don't treat you right, you put